Finding the map was not an accident. There was no way to stumble upon it as it was hidden, tucked between the pages of a book that lay flat on a shelf with 5 other books stacked atop it. The only thing that gave its position away was the lack of dust surrounding the much-moved pile. The map was well-worn and soft. The shiny gloss of the print had long ago faded into a velvet texture from countless handlings. It had been folded and unfolded so many times that roads, streets, and whole town names were eroded by white lines set in neat, orderly quadrants. Scattered across the map, there were circles in various shades of blue. Some circles were small, just big enough to enclose the name of a place, while others were large and oblong, taking in whole counties or regions. I first came across the map when I was 15. I had been in his office looking for any cash he might have had hidden. Instead of money, I found the map, already laden with 7 blue circles then. He had come in to find me with it fully spread out on the office floor, crying and accusing him of trying to abandon us. It had been a huge fight, but eventually I was assured that he wasn't hiding the map as some sort of escape plan. And I was grounded for attempted robbery. It became a habit after that to occasionally snoop in his office to check if there were any new places added. When I asked him why he wanted to go to each place, he would refuse to tell me, saying it was a punishment for being nosy, but he told me that if I guessed correctly, he would confirm. After that, I would obsessively research each new place, trying to pinpoint the reason for its addition. It became a game for us. I unfolded the map, spreading it across his desk as I slowly counted the number of circles. There were 14. The last time I had laid eyes on this map, there had only been 11. My attention was drawn unerringly back to the beginning, to the only black mark on the map, a line under the town I grew up in, the starting point. From there, a faint line of graphite trailed away to the first stop, a blue bubble around a city not too far from home. He used to talk about it a lot, always trying to convince us to go and see some sort of installment in a desert park. From there, the thin line traveled past the state line, moving deep into the next state to a city named Burley. He had chosen this place because it was smack dab in the middle of Twin Falls and the American Falls. I had tried for a while to convince him to add the lava hot springs to his list, but he always said he hated being hot and wet. I didn't suppress my smile while my eyes traced the familiar line as it moved from Burley to the blue circle around Idaho Falls, where I knew there was an aquarium he wanted to visit. Then the route diverted from what it had been the last time I'd seen the map. That was not unusual. He had always been planning and replanning this trip for the far-off someday. The line skipped states again and followed a looping trail alongside a river before veering off toward Miles City, where there was a watercolor art museum that had caught his eye some years back. From there, the line zigzagged across the map with very little rhythm or reason, doubling back in some places, passing several circled areas in others. At one point, the line shot past 3 clustered stops to get to the coast, where an entire region was encased in an oblong blue square masquerading as a circle. Though I was never able to figure out which ones, I knew he chose the area for the excellent seafood restaurants. The line then curved backwards, going northwest and hitting mountain towns at seemingly random. I could never figure out why these ones were on his list. All I could ever find in these areas worth seeing were beautiful camping grounds and hiking trails, but that was never something he was really into. He never gave the secret of these ones away. My eyes continued tracing the graphite line, and I found the spots that were new to me. There was a circle up in a mountain town that had not been there before, one down in the middle of the country, seemingly in the middle of nowhere, and the last circle was around the city I lived in. He had only ever visited once since I moved there. He drove down his old pickup truck with the dining room table we had all grown up eating around, covered in a blanket and strapped down. The trip had only been about 4 hours for him, but he said it might as well have been on the other side of the equator for how moist the air had been and how hot the sun had beaten down. As he left, after only 2 days of being there, he told me that he loved my new place and he loved me, but he would not be coming back to the sweltering sauna I had decided to call home. We had laughed about it as I sent him off, and true to his word, he never visited again. That was fine, as most of the family had stayed local, and it just made more sense for me to go down than others to come up to me. But it had been years since I'd been down. Life, work, and my own family kept me busy and in my own circle. We called, of course, as often as we could manage. The last call we had was 3 months ago, and he told me that he would finally be taking his trip. He had sold the old pickup and bought himself a small hybrid SUV that would be able to handle the drive, and arranged for a revolving cast of friends and family to watch over the house and water his plants while he was gone. He said he was taking both the bird and the dog with him because he couldn't bear to leave them behind. "You're finally doing it?" I asked him over the phone, half distracted by something I could not even remember afterward. "Good for you, old man." "It is good," he retorted with a laugh so full of ease I could almost picture his relieved expression. "I've put this off for too long," he said. "You weren't putting it off. You were living your life." "When you get to be my age, you learn that sometimes we use living our life as an excuse not to live our lives, kid." As he said that, some of the wariness and age edged itself back in his tone. It made me feel tight and uncomfortable to be the cause of that. "Well, you deserve this," I said lightly, wanting him back at ease. "Live the dream, Dad. And I expect to be told about every spot you hit. I'm not going to keep guessing after you take this trip." "Oh, I plan to take photos of everything. I've already ordered an old screen projector on eBay. There's going to be an hours-long slideshow in your future." "I'll bring the wine," I promised with a laugh. "So, when's the official start date of the someday trip?" "The 1st of next month. I wanted to do it sooner, but I need to get checked out at the chiropractor first. My back has been killing me lately, and I want to get it aligned before I spend months on the road." "Smart," I said with another laugh. But it hadn't been his back that was killing him. It had been something else. The first of the month had passed without him hitting the road, and he had passed before the next month had come to be. He had deteriorated so quickly I hadn't even been able to fly out to see him. In his will, he left me a few $1,000s, the bird and the dog, the pink slip to his car, and a note that read, "You'll need to take care of the someday for me, kid." I picked up the paper sitting beside the map. It had slipped out as I retrieved the map from its hiding place. It was a list of addresses. Some places I already knew, and the rest, answers to mysteries he had kept to himself for nearly 2 decades. At the bottom of the list was another note written in his hand. "Don't put off your life, kid. Love, Dad." I know the last 2 videos I put up have been things I'd written in the past, but this time I was determined to write something completely new, so I did. I will be honest, I had no idea where this was going, but I certainly was not expecting it to go where it went. For a solid 3 weeks, all I had was 2 paragraphs, the very strong image of a map, and a quiet, mysterious tone. That was it. When I read the very little I had to my husband, he asked me if it was about someone who had passed away. That hadn't even once crossed my mind before that moment, but after he said it, I couldn't see it as anything else. I guess that makes me pretty impressionable, but after that, the story flew together. Grief is not something easily discussed in real life because it is so multifaceted. In this last decade of my life, I have lost several people. Some friends, but mostly family. The majority of them in the last 5 years, and some one right after the other. But even as I write, I have lost them, that is not a completely accurate statement, because they were not lost to only me. They were lost to a community of people who loved and cherished them. When a person is lost, they are lost to many. Grief is so strange because it can happen to a group of people, but despite that, often we experience it as individuals. Grief is a water-like thing. Each person is a different size and shaped receptacle that it fills differently. There are a lot of great films and shows and literature dedicated to depicting how different grief can be. Media is often used to present us with a window into many human experiences, but none of the things I ever consumed could prepare me for how grief filled me personally, or how different it is to lose a friend, a cousin, a father. Nothing prepared me for the way the grief of those around me would pull me in and require my participation. Nor was I prepared to defend my own quiet grief or slow processing against the comparison of those who just grieve bigger. Just like my stance on love, I believe there is no right way to mourn. There are some griefs in my life that I have yet to overcome, and there are some I am sure I will carry with me all of my life as a burden too heavy yet too familiar to put down. And equally, there is no limit to what deserves to be mourned. In my opinion, we as a society do not give enough credence to the fact that grief is not just something we experience in the wake of a passing. I watched a lot of my own hopes and dreams fade away before I ever truly lost a person. As a girl, I had many dreams and aspirations for my adulthood. For the longest time, I wanted my parents to put me in karate because Dragon Ball Z had me convinced that if I got really, really good at it, I could concentrate my chi and fly. I believed that with the entirety of my tiny being. Honestly, sometimes I still think it could have happened and blame my parents for the fact that I am forced to drive a car and pay for gas. Over the course of my childhood, I wanted to be a firefighter, a professional dancer, a librarian, a witch, a race car builder, a cartoonist, and the tooth fairy. Yes, most of these are the silly musings of a child, and I am unashamed of them. I think childhood is beautiful because as children we have endless imagination, and from that can spring endless hopes and ideals. As a child, there was so much I wanted to be, and I never once stopped to think that it wouldn't happen. As I grew, my dreams changed somewhat. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be well-liked and interesting and have things to say. For me, growing older was letting go of some of these things, or accepting that they would look different from how I first imagined them. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, they say. They being the Bible. And whether you read it, believe it, or not, it's kind of impossible to find fault in this proverb. I think too often we tend to push these losses down or move past them without giving them the proper acknowledgement. Our lives are a veritable graveyard of buried dreams, but instead of honoring these things that were once tremendously important to us, we let them haunt us like ghosts. All of the dreams I ever had, whether realized or lost to me, helped build me into who I am, for better or worse. It's fine that I never became a cartoonist, or a race car builder, or a witch, or a librarian. Most of these things I let go of not because I had to, but because I wanted to, and that is okay. The things that are harder to accept are not the dreams I put down, but the ones I put off. The ones I still put off. The ones I have relegated to my own someday. Acknowledging that is the first step through a door of mourning and hurt that most would rather not take. I certainly find myself avoiding it at all costs. I guess I shouldn't point out the spirits in someone else's graveyard when I'm so afraid to deal with my own. But if someone doesn't, the cycle just continues. I suppose my point is that the point is to mourn. It is a shameful thing to not give our lives, the things and people we loved, a proper send-off, no matter what that looks like for us, no matter how much it hurts or how difficult it is. Let's do the hard thing, kid.